Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to connect the dots between one of the biggest data scandals of our time and the generative AI revolution that is completely reshaping our world as we speak.
So let's start here with this absolutely chilling quote from 2018. The Cambridge Analytica scandal, well, it was way more than just a data breach. It was a massive wake-up call. It showed the world, in no uncertain terms, how all those little digital breadcrumbs we leave behind could be gathered up and weaponized.
And the fallout? It was historic. Facebook got hit with a record-shattering $5 billion fine from the U.S. Federal Trade Commission. A number that big isn't just a slap on the wrist. No, it's a signal to the entire world that the stakes in this game had become astronomically high. So, how in the world did one company get its hands on the private data of tens of millions of people, almost entirely without them even knowing? Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. You know, the mechanism was deceptively simple, almost like a sneaky magic trick. It all started with this harmless-looking personality quiz. But the real trick, the secret sauce, was step 3. By scraping the data of the quiz taker's friends, a few 100,000 participants just exploded into this massive data mining firestorm.
And you know, the craziest part is that the story just kept getting worse. The first reports were talking about 50 million people, but as investigators started peeling back the layers, that number just kept climbing and climbing, eventually landing at a staggering 87 million. It was like the more they dug, the bigger the hole got.
And listen, this wasn't about trying to sell you a new pair of shoes. This data was used to build psychographic profiles. Think about it like this. Just by analyzing your Facebook likes, they could score you on personality traits, right? Things like neuroticism or openness. Then they could pinpoint persuadable voters and hit them with tailor-made ads. This was famously used in the 2016 U.S. election, and in some even more targeted, cynical ways, like the Do So campaign, which was literally designed to discourage young people from voting in Trinidad and Tobago. So the Cambridge Analytica scandal was basically the world's crash course in data harvesting. But it turns out that was just the opening act for something much, much bigger. It was a leap into a world where technology doesn't just use our data, it actually learns from it to create its own stuff. And this slide, right here, really lays out that huge shift we're talking about. We've gone from a world of data collection to a world of data creation. The old way was all about analyzing our digital footprints to guess what we might do next. The new model? It learns from all of those footprints combined to generate totally original, human-like content. So here's the crucial point. These incredible new tools, like ChatGPT, Midjourney, and Sora, they aren't just finding information that's already out there. They're synthesizing it. They are learning from this massive digital universe of text and images and code to produce something that has literally never existed before. And if you look at this timeline, you can see just how breathtakingly fast this all happened. I mean, the core technology that makes this all possible, the transformer architecture, it only showed up in 2017. Just 5 years later, ChatGPT came out, and boom, suddenly this immense power wasn't locked away in a lab anymore. It was in the hands of hundreds of millions of people. So, this technological explosion, it really has two faces. On one hand, it holds this almost utopian promise for progress. But on the other, it creates entirely new kinds of risk, and some of them feel eerily familiar. I mean, the upside is genuinely inspiring. We're seeing AI help scientists track genes to fight cancer. It's assisting law enforcement in cracking cold cases. It's completely revolutionizing creative fields, generating art from just a sentence, and it's supercharging productivity in almost every industry you can think of. But this incredible power has to come from somewhere, right? So you have to ask, what are the consequences? What are the hidden costs of building a world where machines can think and create like us?
Okay, let's start with raw power. Physical power. Training these massive AI models is incredibly energy-intensive. Back in 2023, data centers already used up over 4% of all electricity in the US. By 2028, some projections show that number could actually triple. That is a massive energy footprint.
And the other risks? They feel like echoes of the Cambridge Analytica scandal, just amplified. The fear of job displacement was a central nerve in the Hollywood strikes. The power to create photorealistic deepfakes basically pours gasoline on the fire of misinformation. And then you've got a wave of lawsuits from artists and media companies that raises a huge question. Is it even legal to train an AI on the world's copyrighted art and knowledge? So when you have these new supersized risks just exploding into the mainstream, it triggers this global scramble to write the rulebook, before the whole game gets completely out of control.
But here's the thing. There's this massive hurdle. It's called the black box problem. It's kind of like having a master chef who can create a phenomenal dish but can't give you the recipe. You know the ingredients that went in, and you can taste the amazing result, but the process that happened in between, it's a complete mystery. Sometimes, even to the chef themselves.
This challenge has led to two very different philosophies. The European Union is trying to build this comprehensive legal fortress with its AI Act, and it's all based on the idea that privacy is a fundamental human right. The US, on the other hand, is taking a more sector-specific approach, kind of a regulatory patchwork quilt, and it's often relying on voluntary commitments from the tech companies themselves.
The Cambridge Analytica story? It didn't just end with a fine. It fundamentally changed the public conversation about who owns and controls our digital lives.
It sparked movements like #OwnYourData, which really pushed this radical idea that our personal information is an asset, our asset. It was a fight to reclaim ownership of our digital selves, to finally have a say in how our data is used. And that brings us right here, to the essential question of our time. The last fight was about owning the raw material, our data. The next, much bigger fight is about owning the finished product. If our collective data is the fuel that powers artificial intelligence, who gets to own the incredible new intelligence that it creates?